Maximus Fried returns. Max Fried has a dominating performance against the Los Angeles Dodgers on Tuesday in a 3-1 win for the Atlanta Braves to even up that series. And now Charlie Morton takes the mound on Wednesday as the Braves look to not only win the series against the Dodgers, but come home with a winning road trip. We'll discuss all of that on today's episode of Lockedon Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we talk about your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I am your host, Jake Mastroianni. You can follow me on Twitter at shortstopball. Check out my bio there to see everywhere I am covering the game of baseball, including the Atlanta Braves in written form over at tomahawktake.com. Also, make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well. And make sure you comment on the videos. I try to get back to every comment that you place out there. Really good conversations there. And thanks for making Locked On Braves your first listen each and every day. We post episodes daily, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and we are free and available on all platforms. And what a better day today, coming off a 3-1 win over the Los Angeles Dodgers, and Max Fried having a dominating performance. We'll break down that game on today's podcast. We'll talk about Kenley Jansen getting his first save against his old team, and we'll preview Wednesday's afternoon matchup with Charlie Morton taking the mound, looking for the series win. But let's start with Tuesday night's game. Again, a much better game for Atlanta Braves fans and a start that we have been looking for from Max Fried, the Max Fried that we know him to be, the guy that I think could contend for the NL Cy Young this year. And this was certainly a Cy Young performance against a very good lineup in the Los Angeles Dodgers. Max Fried was perfect through 5 innings. He lost the perfect game with a leadoff single in the 6th, gave up one other hit in this game, and really that was just a dribbler up the first baseline. There was some miscommunication between he and Matt Olson as to who was going to go get it, and Trey Turner going down the line, obviously, very quickly. So those were the only 2 hits he gave up. But the big thing for me was no walks. When the Braves pitching staff has really been struggling with walks over the last couple of days, nice to see Max with no walks in this game against a Dodgers lineup that is very patient. They will take their walks for sure. And so it was great to see that. So 7 innings, 2 hits, no walks, as I just mentioned, no earned runs, 8 strikeouts, 92 pitches, 62 strikes. So just the dominating performance we've been looking for from Max Fried. A couple of, or really one moment in the outing I thought was pretty hilarious. He got Freddie Freeman out all 3 times he faced him, struck him out twice. But the last time he faced him, he had Freddie down 0-2, and he tried to paint 97 miles per hour away on the black, just missed it. It was the hardest pitch he threw of the night. So, Max was geared up for that against his old teammate. Didn't get the call, and Freddie laid off of it. Very next pitch, he throws a 94 mile per hour sinker darting in under the hands of Freddie Freeman that he foul tips into the glove of Travis d'Arnaud for the strikeout. So that was probably my favorite sequence of the night for Max Fried, but there's plenty to choose from. What I really liked about Max Fried in this start, I mentioned it on the postcast with Grant McCauley after the game, he mixed up his pitches really well, and the Dodgers hitters could not sit on anything, and he just had them guessing all night long. He threw 26 four-seam fastballs, 21 sliders, 20 curveballs, 15 changeups, and 11 sinkers. I mean, what pitch are you going to pick? What are you going to sit on? And he was commanding them all. Just an absolutely dominating performance from Max Fried. Again, this is the typical performance we are used to seeing from him, and I hope he will hit his stride now Again, it's not like he was bad in his first two starts. He had an inning here or there where he lost control. You can blame that a little bit on a shortened spring training. But I think this is the max we should get going forward. And I think this is the max for it again that can compete for the NL Cy Young this year. But some other great individual performances in this matchup. Orlando Arcia. I mentioned at the end of Tuesday's podcast that he had good numbers against Walker Buehler, and we might see him get the start. So credit to Brian Snitker for looking at the matchups there and putting Arcia in the lineup, and it paid off big time. He went 3 for 4 with an RBI. Every ball that he put in play, all 4 times he went to the plate, was a hard hit ball. 3 of them 100 miles per hour or harder. This was a great move from Snitker. You got to credit him when he does make good moves. I know we kind of got on him for bringing in Sean Newcomb in game 1 of this series, but you got to give props to Snitker here for sticking with Arcia, even though he wasn't facing a lefty, which is pretty much the only time we've been seeing Arcia. I had somebody mention to me already that they'd rather see Arcia at shortstop over Dansby. At this point, it's just not going to happen. We may see it on Wednesday, on this Wednesday afternoon game. Could be a good time to give Dansby a break, the day game after night game, before an off day. So we may see it on Wednesday, but he's not taking over that shortstop job anytime soon. It's going to be Dansby's job. Everybody was shouting the same thing last year when the Braves traded for Arcia and he went off at Gwinnett and Dansby was struggling. And then Dansby got hot, as he typically does, and those talks kind of went away, and they ended up trying to move Arcia to the outfield to give him a shot there. So hopefully you all keep talking about Arcia replacing Dansby, and hopefully that leads to Dansby getting hot at some point. However, it's great to see Arcia swinging a good bat. Gives you some very good insurance should something happen to an infielder, so that's nice to see. Speaking of Dansby, it was good to see him beat out an infield single. I know he's struggling at the plate right now, but he's still hustling. He's not pouting, not putting his head down, continuing to try to work to do what he can to help this team. And that was a big play there. Set up first and third with nobody out. It didn't get anything out of it, but still a good hustle play from Dansby. Still giving you solid defense at short. Again, he'll get hot at the plate at some point. It's just a rough go for him right now, but good to see him hustle and beat out that single. Travis d'Arnaud with another home run. He's quietly gotten off to a really good start. And since coming to Atlanta, he's been very good at the plate, slashing 265, 327, 445 with 17 home runs in 112 games. The only thing with Travis is, can he stay healthy? Can he be behind the plate for 120, 130 games? That's what we hope we get from him this year. And if we do, I think he's going to be one of the top offensive catchers in all of baseball. And then finally, Kenley Jansen gets the save against his old team. This felt like a game that didn't need a save situation because Max Fried was so dominant and the Braves had so many base runners, but it ended up being a 3-1 game in the end, and Kenley was needed. And of course, the final out comes against Freddie Freeman. I mean, you can't script this stuff. I saw somebody tweet out that this is wrestling, it's rigged, and it's all set up for the drama. But that's just the beautiful game of baseball and how things work out sometimes. So Kenley gets a save against his old team, getting the last out against Freddie Freeman, facing his old team, and the Braves come away with the 3-1 victory. Next, we'll take a look at some of the biggest moments from the game, and we'll recap the rest of it and get into Wednesday's matchup. Before we do so, let me tell you about Blue Nile. Whether she prefers a statement piece or everyday subtle elegance, BlueNile.com has fine jewelry options for every mom or spouse out there. Shop high-quality classic diamond earrings, elegant tennis bracelets, or gemstone pendant necklaces. Looking for fine jewelry but having trouble choosing? Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. If you're celebrating that special woman in your life, go to BlueNile.com, where you can easily navigate thousands of fine jewelry options at every price point. And this Mother's Day, give mom something she'll treasure forever with fine jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off $500. This podcast exclusive is only good through Mother's Day. Use code LOCKEDON. That's code LOCKEDON. Plus, Every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever peace. Go to BlueNile.com today. Couple of other quick notes from Tuesday's game I wanted to mention really quickly. One of them being that the Braves just seem really comfortable against Walker Buehler at this point. I know they've seen him quite frequently over the past several years, whether it be in the regular season or in the postseason. But Walker's one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, and the Braves have a certain comfort level against him at this point, and that's great for many reasons, because I think the Braves will see Walker Buehler in a lot of key spots for the next several years. But it's pretty evident by the fact the Braves only struck out twice against him over 5 innings and had 8 hits. This is the team that will rack up the strikeout numbers, and to only strike out twice against Walker Buehler over 5 innings, that just tells you the comfort level these Braves hitters have against him. Now, they were pretty aggressive and not getting behind in counts and allowing him to go to his strikeout pitches, but they still made him throw a lot of stressful pitches as well and were able to get him out of the game after only 5 innings. They weren't able to continue to tack on runs against him. They only scored the 3 off of him in those 5 innings, despite the 8 hits and 1 walk over that time. But still, you can just tell this team is seeing him well, and that has to give this Braves team a lot of confidence for when they face the Dodgers in the postseason again, knowing they can get to their top starter and have several times at this point. So I love that trend right now, because I do think the one advantage the Braves have over the Dodgers is the pitching. And if you're talking about Walker Buehler being their game 1 starter and the Braves having good success against him recently, then that's got to give you a lot of confidence going into a series matched up against the Dodgers. On the down note, I do have to mention the missed opportunities in this game. I talked about the fact they had 8 hits and a walk against Walker, but only came away with 3 runs. Overall in the game, they had 12 hits and that 1 walk, and again, only scored 3 runs. They finished the game going 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position and left 8 on base. In the third, they got a leadoff double, and then Olson earned a 12-pitch walk, just a great at-bat by him. But then Austin Riley came up, swung at the first pitch, which I get it. It's a 12-pitch at bat he just came off of. You're probably going to get a good pitch to hit, as Walker didn't want to fall behind and waste any more pitches. And Austin hit it hard, hit 108 miles per hour, just right at an infielder for an easy double play. And the Braves come up empty in that inning. The one that was really tough, I mentioned earlier in the 7th inning, Orlando Arcia led off the inning with a double. Dansby beat out an infield single. That put runners on the corners with nobody out for the top of the lineup. Ozzie and Olson both struck out against David Price. Olson missing a fastball right down the middle at 92 miles per hour, and then Riley flew out. That just can't happen. I know Ozzie, there was a couple of calls in that sequence he was not very pleased with. Still, you got to find a way to put the ball in play there, the top of the lineup. Finally, you're getting the bottom of the lineup setting up the guys at the top, and they just didn't come through in that spot. Again, in the 8th inning, they got a leadoff single and then had 2 on with 1 out, but Duvall struck out and Arcia flew out. So you can't just keep relying on the home run, especially right now when it's mostly solo home runs that they're getting. Got to do a better job of bringing those runners in and putting games away. Like I said, this felt like it should have been a 7-run lead for the Braves. They only ended up winning by 2 runs. So these are things you can't let happen. You can't allow a team, especially like the Dodgers, to stay around like this. When you have a chance to put them away, you have to be able to do that. Fortunately, it did not come back to bite them. As I saw these opportunities going by during the game, I thought, man, this feels like an opportunity where the Dodgers are going to come back, that these missed opportunities are going to bite the Braves. But luckily, it didn't happen this time around, but have to be more cognizant of these situations going forward and do a better job of adding those tack-on runs. The only time they did that in this game, Ozzie got a leadoff single and stole second base, which was a story in itself here. The Braves had 2 stolen bases in the same inning after not having a stolen base coming into the game all year long. Olsen moved him over with a ground ball to second, and then Riley got an excuse me single to right field. Check swing the ball that just he's so strong. He check swung and it went over Freddie Freeman at first and into right field for an RBI single. The Braves are hitting though. Like that is the one positive from this. They're not exactly scoring a ton of runs out of it, but they've now out hit the Dodgers 22-9 in this series, and they had the 7 hardest hit balls in the game on Tuesday. 4 of those by Orlando Arcia and 2 by Travis d'Arnaud. They had 11 of the top 14 hard hit balls in this game. So part of that being the Max Fried just wasn't giving up a lot of hard hits, but part of that also being the Braves are hitting the ball extremely hard and have all season long. So that is certainly a great sign. So the Braves do get the 3-1 victory to even up the series, and they will have a shot to win the series on Wednesday with Charlie Morton on the mound. We'll preview that matchup next. By now, you already know Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar out there. We are a big fan here of them on the podcast. I love the cookies and cream. Built Bar, that's my favorite one out there, but they have a ton of flavors to meet whatever taste that you desire. They're great on finding out what tastes great and then finding a way to make it great for you. Most Built Bars contain just 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Go to built.com, scroll down to the macros chart. You'll be blown away. High protein, low calorie, high fiber, low carb. While you're there and you're placing your order, make sure you put locked15 in that promo code box so that you get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code locked15 to get 15% off at built.com. On Wednesday afternoon, finally, if you're on the East Coast, you get to watch a game with both eyes open. It'll be Charlie Morton going up against Tony Gonsolin of the Dodgers. A good pitching matchup on paper for the Atlanta Braves, but as we know, baseball games are not played on paper, but do love the chances here for the Braves, especially considering Morton's coming off a pretty rough start in San Diego. You know he's looking to bounce back and put that behind him. So I'm expecting a good performance from Charlie Morton on Wednesday afternoon. Looking at the Dodgers lineup, Mookie Betts is 7 for 24 with a homer off Morton, but Betts has really been struggling lately. Hopefully this isn't the game that gets him going. Freddie Freeman, 6 for 12 with a homer off Charlie Morton. And Justin Turner is 4 for 10. I'm pretty sure I've said Justin Turner's name in every matchup this week. The guy just crushes everybody over his career. But those are the guys who have the best numbers against Charlie. But like I said, I'm expecting big things from Charlie in this outing, coming off a rough one in San Diego. Don't usually do predictions here, but I'm going to say 6 innings at 2 earned or less is what we get from Charlie on Wednesday. As for Tony Gonsolin, only lasted 3 innings his last time out, threw 62 pitches, gave up 1 earned run on 5 hits and a walk. He's only allowed 1 earned run on the season, but he's only thrown 7 innings. He's given up 8 hits and 4 walks. So the Dodgers are still stretching him out, used him primarily out of the bullpen at the end of last year. Be patient. Take what he gives you. Again, don't squander those opportunities. He has allowed a lot of base runners early on, but been able to get out of those jams. Don't waste those opportunities when you get runners on base. Take your walks, move them over, get them in, play a little small ball here and there, add on some runs, give Charlie some breathing room, and I think you'll be just fine. But this seems like a great matchup for the Braves to get a win. With the off day on Thursday, the bullpen should be fully ready to go. So I think this is a prime opportunity for the Braves to win a series at Dodger Stadium, something that has not been done for a while in the regular season. And not only that, but come back home after a winning road series, gaining some confidence, going into winnable matchups against the Marlins and the Cubs. So it's a great point for the Braves to really kind of kick their season off, get going, taking down the Dodgers in LA, then coming back home and getting hot and going on a really good stretch of wins is what we hope to see here. And as I've done the past several days now, giving you a Ronald Acuna Jr. update at the end of the podcast. He started his rehab assignment on Tuesday, went 1 for 3 with a double that, if not for a weird wall in right center field, would have been a home run. Made a couple of plays in right field as well. Hit a couple other balls hard in his 3 at-bats. Ronnie said he's ready to go when they give him the call, so I promptly tweeted out, call the man. Call this man up. I cannot wait to see him play. It's still likely going to be a couple of weeks before we see him, but who knows? You know, he keeps impressing like this. It's going to be hard to hold him down, but just good to see Ronnie back on a baseball field doing Ronnie things. Says that he thinks he'll be even better than he was before, which should put fear into the rest of the league. So let me see it. Unleash him. I can't wait to see Ronald Acuna Jr. back with the Atlanta Braves. That will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. You can follow me at Shortstop Ball. Also, make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well, and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time we post a new episode. But again, Braves will be taking on the Dodgers on Wednesday afternoon, and we'll recap that on Thursday's episode of Locked On Braves. So we'll talk to you next time.